Hey folks, and welcome to the 7-day conversion course. My name's Riley Bunce, and I'm the owner of Studio 909, a design agency focused on helping startups improve their conversion rate. This course, we're going to be turning your website into a conversion machine. To start off on day one, we have the landing page conversion killers. So you might be asking yourself, why does this matter? Here's a few key insights to help sway you to realize that this is extremely important stuff. Most landing pages have 3 to 5 fixable conversion killers. If you don't know what a landing page is, it's your home page. It's where people are going to land on your website to figure out what it is that you do, and it's where you want to convince them as fast as you can to buy your products before they leave. The average startup conversion rate is around 1.2% compared to industry leaders who hover around 4 to 6%. So even with a 4% conversion rate, 96% of your visitors are going to be leaving without converting. That's 96 people walking into your store, turning around, walking right out without buying a thing. 68% of visitors are leaving websites within 15 seconds due to confusion. And the last thing that I'll say here is that small changes can have huge impacts. What is the problem? Many websites lack the optimal strategy to convert web visitors into paying customers. Your website is a 24/7 salesperson, and most suck at selling. All right, so here we're going to look at some examples of websites, and I want you to form your own opinion on whether you think that they're good or that they're bad, and rate them based on what you think. All right, so now we're going to look at some of my own work, shameless plug, to see what the difference is between some of the poor design choices and better design choices. All right, so we're going to be diving into each of those examples a little bit deeper throughout the rest of this. But first, we need to establish the 4 conversion killer framework. The first killer would be confusing value props. The second killer would be missing trust signals and proof of concept or social proof. And the third would be weak call to actions. The fourth being mobile disasters. So we're going to break down each of these a little deeper. So the first killer, confusing value props. The problem with this one is that many websites have these kind of words that say nothing at all and don't really explain the company. Like, we love what we do, or we're super passionate, or it's time to evolve. A lot of them have these buzzwords, but don't really say anything about the company. An example here is revolutionary platform for digital transformation. What does that mean? It could mean so many things. It could apply to any company, and it leaves visitors confused. So the fix to this is to have outcome focused value propositions. Get your first 100 customers in 30 days without ads. You're giving a clear timeline, 30 days, a specific outcome, and you're addressing a certain pain point. Expanding on this point a little bit, we're brought to the grandmother test. I want to make this super memorable for you. I found a picture of a nice old lady on Unsplash. Basically, what you want to do is think of showing your product to an old lady, or do it if you happen to have your grandma or mom around, or if you are an old lady, but get it to show to somebody who's maybe a little bit older, doesn't understand tech as well, and see if they can break it down. The idea is that you want it to be extremely clear, and that as soon as somebody lands on your website, they know what it is that you do, why you do it, and how you can solve their problem. Here's an example of a website that doesn't say anything. This is like the most confusing website, right? This is literally their landing page as soon as you go on their website. Compare that to a website design that I did. We make owning a golf simulator easy. Streamlined business management solutions for golf course scheduling, maintenance, and point of sales. So we're making it extremely easy for them to understand what it is that we do. Import and export custom vehicles in Canada. We're laying out exactly what we're doing, where it is, why it should concern them. We're going to break it down a little bit further in future videos, but for now, you get the basics. Moving on to the second one, missing trust signals. The problem is that homepages look like they were built yesterday with zero credibility. The trust signal hierarchy in order of impact would go customer logos, especially with recognizable brands like Forbes or Apple, testimonials with photos and full names, case studies with specific results, awards and certifications, social media follower counts, and as seen in media mentions. And then we're also going to talk about the concept of social proof. So social proof is the idea that other people have used the product before you or service, and they recommend it or they've had a positive experience. So you're not going into it blindly thinking, is this a legitimate company? Am I actually going to get the service that they're talking about? Proof stacking strategy is not relying on just one type of social proof, scattering social proof throughout your website from the top all the way through the middle where you have testimonials and stuff. And then at the bottom, you can have additional. So yeah, proof stacking strategy would be not relying on just one type of social proof, layering different types of trust signals throughout your website. Place the strongest at the top, but obviously sprinkling them throughout ideal. Use specific numbers and outcomes, say what's happened, and always include photos with testimonials. Use full names and companies when possible. Be as specific as you can. Lately, we've seen an increase in video testimonials, which has been shown to increase conversion rates by up to 52%. Obviously, newer and more recent testimonials or proof will perform better. So here's a couple examples of kind of websites before and after adding these social proof. This is just above the fold, right? So the first place you land on the website. Here we have Webflow certified partner, trusted by, and a bunch of different logos of other people we've worked with. All right, so for our second example, we have the website after we add that additional proof of concept and social proof. It looks a lot better. It looks more trustworthy and somebody that we're willing to buy from. The next killer is weak call to actions. As you can see, there's not really any call to action here. There are some that I noticed, but it's very hard to tell. Doing things like putting white space around your buttons can be super helpful, and the wording that you use, the colors. When we look at call to actions, a lot of websites have generic buttons like submit or learn more or click here, whereas a strong call to action includes an action, a benefit, and urgency. Get my revenue audit, clear action plus specific benefit. Start my 14-day trial, action plus benefit. As we'll see throughout the rest of the series, small things like this can have a huge impact on your overall conversion rate. All right, so here's another example. There's no call to action. This is the whole website above the fold, and we actually have to scroll down to get to their call to action, right? You want to have your call to action above the fold. The user should be able to see it as soon as they land and be able to click on it. Research has shown that can help improve clicks by up to 73%. Contrasting colors increase visibility, larger buttons, white space around, and then having certain language that entices them to click. Here's an example, free website audit, right? You're getting a benefit of free, and you also have the website audit. You know what it is that you're getting. So here's another example, watch a demo. Super clear placement, and you know what it is that you're going to be doing. There's also a lot of contrast that allows the button to stand out and make it the primary action that the user is motivated to click on. So moving on to our last point is mobile disasters. A lot of users nowadays are visiting websites on their mobile device. You probably are using your phone all day long, searching through, pulling up websites, and a lot of websites aren't designed well for mobile phones. Over 60% of traffic is mobile nowadays. This is extremely important. If your website looks like crap on your phone, up to 60% of your visitors are going to be leaving immediately. We have a couple examples of websites that are not optimized. They look like crap. You can't see the buttons. It leads the customer to end up leaving a lot faster, and this gets overlooked so often. Another thing to note is that due to this happening, there's a much lower mobile conversion rate. Most websites are designed desktop first and then mobile last. So common mobile mistakes are things like having small buttons, text that you can't read, forms that are super long, painful to fill out, no autofill, things like that. Pop-ups that can't be closed, and slow loading times are such a killer, and it's extremely important to test this. Another thing that we touched on previously is thumb zone optimization, right? When you're holding your phone, it's a lot easier to click on the bottom than it is on the top. So primary buttons, the primary call to action should be located in a place that's easy to tap for the user. As you can see, that nav bar, it's in a place where you're gonna have to reach to actually get to. So that it's not as important, so it can be further away. Avoid placing important buttons in hard to reach areas. Sites with mobile optimized design see 67% higher conversion rates, and a page load time increase of 1 second reduces conversions by 70%. 53% of mobile users abandon sites that take longer than 3 seconds to load. So you only have 3 seconds to capture their attention, and within a blink of the eye, they're going to judge your website and decide if you're trustworthy or not. All of this compounds to extremely important incremental changes that you can make to your website to increase the amount of people who are buying from you. So some common questions are, what if I don't have testimonials yet? Use your own credentials from your background, whatever it is that you've done. Use case studies from previous companies if you can. Beta user feedback, or even personal guarantees, right? For my business, I guarantee an increase in your conversion rate, or I'll give you a refund. That's how confident I am. And so that's the kind of guarantee that you want to be able to back your offer with. Should mobile and desktop have different value propositions? No, they should have the exact same messaging. It should be very clear, but mobile may need to remove things. Some stats or things might not fit. We might need to remove those. But again, we want to have it be super consistent across your desktop and your mobile device to feel like the same brand and have the same offer and messaging. How many call to actions should I have per page? You should have one primary call to action. We see this a lot with people who have made their own websites or newer designers. It's important to guide the user to one specific action. We want to get them to book that call or schedule that appointment with you or try your product, start that trial. By having one key call to action in a primary color, you're able to ensure that their attention is going to that one key point, that one key area that you want them to click on. So yeah, that's it for day one. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. We're going to break down those 4 key insights over the next few videos. But first, we're going to do an audit that explains how you can find these issues within your website and provide quick, actionable tips on how you can make improvements to convert better. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Hey folks, welcome back to the 7-day conversion challenge. I'm your host, Riley Bunce with Studio 909. In day 2 of the course, we are going to be finding and fixing your revenue leaks, providing you with an audit framework to go through and find those problems within your website. And you might be wondering, why are we doing this? I know we already went over this, but just want to nail it in. Most landing pages have fixes that can increase conversions, and small changes can make huge results. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to break down the biggest conversion blockers that you can fix within 15 minutes or less. And yeah, it's going to require no technical skills. So even if you don't know how to build a website, you can go in and make these changes to your existing website. So here's the 4 steps that are going to be required in the audit. Step 1 is the 5-second value prop test. Step 2 is your trust signal inventory / social proof. Step 3 is your call to action effectiveness. And step 4 is your mobile experience audit. Each of these steps should take 3 minutes or less, and they should look pretty familiar from what we covered yesterday. Starting off with the 5-second value prop, here's what you're going to do. You're going to open your landing page in your web browser, look at it for exactly 5 seconds. Write down, this company helps who do what so they can outcome. An example would be, this company helps founders make websites so they can convert better. Red flags to look for. If you can't fill in the blanks clearly, you're doing it wrong. If you have too many buzzwords like innovative and revolutionary, get rid of them. If there's no specific outcome, you need to fix that. When it's unclear who it's for, there's a big problem. Here's a quick fix formula to create a value proposition statement that stands out. We help specific audience achieve specific outcome in time frame without common pain point. So we help founders achieve high converting websites in 2 weeks or less with a guarantee that you'll convert back or your money back. Obviously, that's a little bit long, but you can split it into your header and your subheader. Next, we move on to trust signal inventory / social proof. As you can see on the right, there's a bunch of different examples that shows people have already use this product and speak highly about it. They've won awards or reputable companies are supporting them. What you want to do for step 2 is audit above the fold your landing page or your website before you're scrolling down on it. And you're going to check for customer logos, testimonials, rating. Then throughout the rest of your website, you're going to be looking for things like case studies, awards, certifications, and your contact information so that they can directly contact you and make sure that you're legit. Things like a physical address, a phone number, and team photos all provide proof that ensures you are a real company. The scoring system for this is if you only have 0 to 2 trust signals, or if they're all really bad, you're losing 60% of your potential customers. If you have 3 to 5 trust signals, you need work, but you're doing better. And if you have 6+ trust signals, you're doing great. The quick wins here are adding 3 customer logos above the fold, including 1 testimonial with a photo and name if you haven't already, and adding an as seen in media mention. Here's the landing page above the fold with a client that I previously worked with, and you can see 10+ reviews from verified customers. It doesn't need to be a crazy amount as long as you have some people backing you up and they're legit reviews that they can find on Google or on your page from real people. It's going to show that you have some legitimacy. Additionally, you can go on to say how many clients you've worked with or your total output of projects, awards you've won. Anything like that is going to help to showcase your brand and your legitimacy. Step 3 is going to be your call to action effectiveness check. For this step, you're basically going to want to count the total number of call to actions on your page. If there's only 1 or 2, put more. Make them more available in more sections. Also, you want to do the grandmother test. Think about your grandmother or an old lady. If she clicked on that button, what is she expecting to happen? Is it enticing enough for her to click on it? So some common red flags are having generic text like submit or learn more, for example. As you can see on this ad, it looks super beautiful with everything, but imagine how much more enticing it would be if it said, get a free test drive today or something like that. Additionally, you don't want to have multiple primary call to actions that are competing with each other. This basically means having more than one button that's a primary thing that you're guiding your user to do. Schedule a call and book a demo. You only really want them to be guided towards one action throughout your site so that they know clearly what it is that they're supposed to do. Additionally, you want to ensure that you're very clearly communicating your benefit for what's going to happen if they end up clicking on that button. Learn more is a lot more vague than get my free SEO audit. Call to action power formula is an action verb and then a specific benefit. Get my free SEO audit. Start my 14-day trial. Or get my free website audit, which is the button I'm actually using on my website. You can see it's a lot more enticing than something as simple as learn more. All right, so step 4 is mobile experience optimization, and this one is so commonly overlooked. What you're going to want to do here is just open your website on your phone and try to complete your main conversion goal. Test all the buttons with your thumb. If you notice that the page takes more than 3 seconds to load, text is too small to read without actually zooming in or holding your phone closer to your face, buttons are too small to tap easily, and the pop-ups can't be closed. These are all big red flags, and you want to make sure that you're fixing these problems. Another important thing to consider is the thumb zone test. When you're holding your phone naturally, is it easy to click on the main call to action with your thumb, or do you have to reach to get to it? You want to ensure that buttons are super clickable and easy to access areas to ensure that visitors have it as easy as possible to go through with your desired call to action. All right, so those are the main 4 steps. And now that we've gone through each and every one of them, what we're going to be doing is ranking each of those areas from 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being as good as you can be. So again, you're going to be rating value proposition clarity, trust signals, call to action effectiveness, and overall mobile experience. You're going to rate that score or tally that score up out of 40. And then what your score means is If it's between 30 and 40, you're optimization ready. If you're between 20 and 29, you have a good foundation. And if you fix 2 to 3 weak areas, your website's going to be in a really good place. And between 10 to 19, you have major improvements needed. And I hate to say it, but if your score is below 10, you have a conversion emergency. Hit the red button, full panic ensued. But don't worry, we're going to help you to fix these problems throughout the rest of the course, so stay tuned. All right, so moving on to the priority action plan, this is going to be what you're going to want to do if you scored below 5 in any of the areas that we previously covered. These are going to be the items with the biggest impact and the easiest fixes to quickly do today to get your website into a better place. So if you scored below 5 in the value prop area, rewrite your headline using the formula from step 1. If you scored below 5 in trust signals, add 3 customer logos and 1 testimonial above the fold. If you scored below 5 in call to actions, rewrite your main button using the power formula. If you scored below 5 in the mobile experience optimization area, test and fix your mobile experience immediately. This is 60% of your traffic, so I can't stress just how important the mobile experience alone is. Before you fall asleep, your next steps are to screenshot your current landing page, complete the 15-minute audit, implement your top 3 fixes, and in 30 days, re-audit and measure your improvement. Perfect is the enemy of good. Start your audit today and you can continuously improve it. But if you start now, at least you're doing something. Thanks for tuning in to day 2. If you made it this far, you made it more than most. So I'm proud of you. And yeah, don't go anywhere. Over the next 4 videos, we're going to be breaking down each of those 4 key areas into much more specific feedback that you can improve to really ensure that your website is converting as high as possible. We're also going to include one last day that looks at advanced user flow optimization for the different types of users. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, peace. We'll see you in the next one. Hey folks, welcome back to the 7-day conversion course. I'm your host, Riley Bunce from Studio 909. And yeah, we're turning your website into a conversion machine. In day 3, we're going to focus on psychology-driven headlines. So let's dive straight into it. David Ogilvy writes, your headline is doing 80% of the selling. If it sucks, nothing else matters. Think about it. You have an amazing product, perfect pricing, killer testimonials, but a super boring headline. No one stays long enough to see all of that good stuff. The legendary advertiser, David Ogilvy, said that 80 cents of every dollar spent on an advertisement should be considered spent on the headline, which means it's the most critical for grabbing attention and influencing the audience. A compelling offer promises a benefit, resonates with the audience, and prompts them to act. So here's the headline conversion formula: specific outcome with time frame and without common objection. So why does this work? The specific outcome is because your brain craves some concrete benefit. And when you lay it out simply, it makes it super easy for you to resonate with. When you add the time frame, it creates urgency and makes it more believable. And then without the objection, you're removing their biggest barrier to moving forward with that action. The psychology behind this is that your brain makes decisions based on pain avoidance and pleasure seeking. This formula triggers both instantly. So the 0.05 second rule is basically, in the blink of an eye, your brain determines whether you like something or not. You are able to judge something within a split second, and the same thing applies to websites, right? So you only have a split second to communicate your headline and explain the value that you have to offer. 80% of your web visitors are never even going to scroll past your headline. This being said, it's extremely important to have a killer headline. The problem is that most startups and small businesses have headlines that say nothing about their outcome. A generic example would be revolutionary AI powered platform, or it's time to evolve with a system built for who you're becoming. Could mean anything. A more specific outcome would be cut customer support costs by 40% in 30 days. It's explaining exactly what the benefit is, you're removing the biggest barrier for them, and you're explaining exactly how long it'll take for them to get it. So breaking down this formula a little bit further, specific outcomes are what we're looking to implement, not generic ones. Some examples of weak outcomes would be increase your sales, or grow your business, or improve efficiency. Specific outcomes are way better. They're much more believable for your brain and make you feel enticed to actually move forward with the offer. So get your first 100 customers, build a 10K monthly recurring revenue sales, cut support tickets by 40%. If you can't measure it, it's too vague. All right, so moving on to part 2, the time frame. This creates urgency and believability. No time frame would be something like get more customers with our platform. With the time frame, you're saying something like get your first 100 customers in 30 days. The psychology behind this is with something generic, it feels distant and like you're not actually able to attain it. Whereas with a time frame, it feels much more realistic and something that you're able to grasp on quickly as a result of the urgency. The sweet spot can be anything from 7 to 90 days. You can do immediately or whatever is relevant to your product, but that time frame has been proven to be the most effective. All right, so for part 3, this is looking at reasons why your visitor will object to making that purchase. When we address those common pain points, it makes it much easier for them to move forward with the purchase without hesitation, without spending on ads, without technical skills, without hiring developers, without cold calling, without previous experience. These are all examples of barriers that we're removing by adding them in. So the psychology behind this, we're solving the problem for them and removing their biggest barrier. It makes it a win-win for them and entices them to move forward and learn more about your offer. All right, so now we're going to see the formula in action. Here's a couple examples. So first we have build a 10K monthly recurring revenue software as a sales platform in 90 days without technical skills. We have build a 10K MRR software as a sales. That's the outcome. We're speaking to exactly who it is and what they're going to get. Moving on, we have the time frame. In 90 days. It's easy for them to imagine themselves in 90 days having that 10K MRR software as a sales platform. A lot easier than if we don't have it there and it's just someday, as opposed to, oh, it's immediate in 90 days. In less than 3 months, I'm going to see these results. Finally, we've removed their biggest objection, like no technical skills needed. This makes it so that not only are they imagining it and seeing it within their reach, they're able to tell that, oh, this is for me because I don't have the technical skills. That's my biggest barrier. So we're making it as easy as possible for them to be enticed to move forward, learning more about your offer. Think about it. Nobody has a long attention span these days. We have to capture them as soon as we can, and this formula allows us to do so. Another example for marketing could be get your first 100 customers in 30 days without spending on ads. The outcome would be first 100 customers, time frame 30 days, and their biggest objection removed, no ad spend required. Here's a couple more examples of the formula in action. We have reach 50K monthly revenue in 60 days without inventory costs. Then consulting, land your first 5K client in 21 days without cold outreach. And for fitness, we have lose 20 pounds in 8 weeks without giving up your favorite foods. Finally, for real estate, we have sell your home in 14 days without realtor commissions. And here on the right, we have an example from Dribble of a really cool design that has a killer headline that really paints a picture for the viewer as to what they're going to get and when they're going to get it. Sometimes you might not be able to fit all of that into your one headline, so it's fine to break it up into your headline, sub-headline, but as long as you have a combination, you're making steps towards converting more customers. All right, so now we're going to do a little psychology lesson real quick, looking at trigger words that help the brain to be more enticed in converting. All right, so first, urgency triggers. These are things like deadline, limited, expires, today, or now. Next, we have curiosity triggers, secret, hidden, surprising, unusual, strange, weird, shocking. Next, benefit triggers, free, proven, guaranteed, easy, quick, simple, instant, automatic. Now, authority triggers, expert, professional, certified, official, exclusive, insider. See how all of these words actually have some type of meaning behind them and provide some type of incentive rather than just being vague and leaving it up to the visitor to depict. A note on this is to only use 1 or 2 of these per headline, not all of them. You're only going to want to apply the most relevant things to your business and ensure that it's all in line with your branding. Speak to your key customer. Don't just put a bunch of copy and paste stuff all over your website that doesn't really talk to anyone. Moving on to common headline mistakes that kill conversions. Mistake number one, being clever instead of clear. Elaborating on that last point, we're disrupting the paradigm, or the future of messaging, or essentialized. Don't just use one word. Make it super, super clear what it is that you do. I can't stress this enough. Just make it clear. Mistake number two, leading with features. If you're talking about features, you're doing it wrong. You want to focus on benefit. What's in it for me? Think about the visitor and what they're going to get from your website. Common example of this is people buy a hole in the wall, not a hammer, not a drill. So AI powered analytics dashboard versus see which ads make money in real time. Think about it. So the third mistake is no specific numbers, saying things like increase sales versus add 10K monthly in revenue. And last but not least, we have mistake four, forgetting the objection. This would be something like learn Spanish fast or learn Spanish in 30 days without boring textbooks. All right, so moving on to something more advanced, we're looking at A/B testing, basically running an experiment to test something on your website to see which performs better. It could be as simple as a word, a headline, or the color of a button. So for this test setup, you're going to be doing a 50-50 split, doing a sample size of minimum 1,000 visitors per variation. So you have one headline on one variation, one headline on the other. Your primary metric is your conversion rate. How many people are moving forward with your offer? Your test duration should be 7 to 14 days minimum. And things that you can test would be more sales versus 10K in revenue, or timeframes, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 2 weeks versus 1 month. Another thing you can test is objection removal with or without the objection clause, something like or your money back. And finally, think about testing different trigger words, something like proven versus guaranteed versus secret. All right, so here's a few examples of high converting templates of different headlines for different industries. There's going to be a full download link in the assets of this course. Go download that. It's going to be a full list of 47. You can find whatever is most relevant to you, fill in the blanks, and pop that into your website. I'm not going to read all of these because I think you're able to pause the video and do that. But yeah, these should be super helpful for you and make it easy for you if you're struggling. All right, so here's the headline hierarchy in order to have maximum impact in the short time that the visitors are going to be landing on your website and deciding within a split second whether they want to buy from you or not. Your primary headline is going to be that 3-part formula. Your subheadline is going to be adding credibility or expanding on the benefits. So join 10,000 entrepreneurs who have already transformed their business. The supporting copy could be something like addressing skepticism and or providing proof. So Sarah went to 0 to 50K MRR using this exact system. And then all 3 of these work together to build the complete cake. All right, everybody's favorite part, the homework. But this stuff is the most important. This stuff is the stuff that's actually going to give you results. So if you're going to do anything from this stuff, just focus on this. Step 1 is to write 10 headlines. Use the formula, specific outcome, time frame, without objection. Step 2, score each headline from 1 to 10. How specific is the outcome? How believable is it? And how well does it address your objection? How believable is the time frame? Step 3 is to test your top 3. Set up A/B tests for your highest scoring headlines, and in 7 days, report back, see which headline did the best, and use that one to move forward with your website. Here's a quick reference sheet with a bunch of the stuff that we've covered. The slideshow, along with some assets, such as the template, will all be in the course assets. So go check that out. So we have the formula, and then outcome ideas, time frames, common objections, and then you want to be testing everything. Your gut feeling does not equal what converts. Data wins in the end. Back to my favorite boy, Mr. Sleepy. What we're going to want to be doing today is screenshot your current headline, write 3 new headlines using the formula, and set up your A/B test. Remember, your headline is your first impression, your elevator pitch, and your sales letter all rolled into one. Make them count. One extra note is that if you don't want to spend the money on A/B testing on your actual website or driving traffic, you can always run an Instagram poll and have a couple different options, test it out, ask your audience or whatever platform that you have the largest audience, whether it's LinkedIn or something else. Run a poll with those different headlines asking which one the audience favorite is and use that one to guide your insights. All right, so common questions. What if my time frame seems too good to be true? Add credibility markers. Results based on 500 plus client case studies. Now, it doesn't need to be this many, but the more the merrier. Next question. Should I always include the objection removal? Test with and without it. Sometimes the outcome plus the time frame is enough. And finally, how long should my headline be? 6 to 12 words is ideal. Clarity beats brevity. Make it quick and easy for them to understand. All right, so that brings us to the end of day 3. Shout out to you if you made it this far. We have 3 more days of breaking down the formula into more specifics, and then finally that advanced flow optimization. It's all super helpful for increasing your conversion. I hope to see you in the next one, and yeah, peace. Hey folks, welcome back to the 7-day conversion challenge. I'm your host, Riley Bunce with Studio 909. Today's day 4, which is trust signal stacking or social proof. Let's get right into it. Startups lose 67% of potential customers due to trust issues. Your product could be perfect, your pricing could be fair, and your messaging could be clear. But if you look new or unproven, you're done. 67% of visitors will bounce immediately because they don't trust you enough to even try. Let's look at this example. Here it is without, and here it is with. You can see how much all of these different trust indicators really help to sell the product or sell the service. Why does trust kill conversion? The psychology of online trust is pretty simple. Your visitor's brain in 3 seconds goes like this. Is this company real? Do other people use this? What if it doesn't work? What if they take my money and disappear? These are the thoughts flying through your head in that quick moment when a visitor lands on your website. So without trust signals, your visitor's brain defaults to this is risky. Let me leave and find a safer alternative. The result of this is that your perfect prospects are leaving without even getting the chance to read your offer. The solution to the trust problem is the credibility cascade. This is using strategic trust elements placed throughout your website to cascade credibility. You're strategically removing doubt at all decision points as your visitor goes through your website. And the reason why it works is because each trust signal removes a different objection, building more and more credibility that converts skeptics into consumers. The result is that you look like an established company from day one. This example shows a bunch of different placements of those trust signals throughout the website in order to continuously convey trust to your customers. So what exactly are the trust signals and which are the most powerful? When we're looking at it, we can look at social proof, which would be other testimonials, other people like me who are using this. Other people in my situation who are having these pains have used it, so it must be good. The second best would be authority signals. So experts recognize this company, certifications, press mentions, awards, anything like that. The third would be security indicators. So my money or my data is safe, security badges, guarantees, refund policy. Last, we have scarcity/urgency, which is making them feel like they need to act immediately. These are things like limited spots, time-sensitive offers, and inventory counts. Over here, we have a bunch of examples of these that are really great and help to showcase the company is trustworthy. So social proof, the conversion king. Why social proof dominates? 92% of people trust recommendations from others. It reduces perceived risk by 73%, and it creates FOMO, fear of missing out, or what am I missing? If somebody else is doing it, you're a lot more likely to be interested to go do it. Think about a TV show like Squid Game. When everybody's talking about it, you're much more enticed to go and watch it yourself. So again, looking at the hierarchy, social proof, customer logos, video testimonials, case studies, written testimonials, review scores, and usage stats. All right, so authority signals, the credibility multiplier. Types of authority signals are media mentions like as seen in TechCrunch or Forbes, team credentials like founded by ex-Google engineers or backed by Y Combinator. Certifications and awards would be industry awards, security certifications, and compliance badges. You could list your partnerships like official partner of Microsoft or integrated with Salesforce. The psychology behind this is that people associate authority with safety and quality. So recently, my website won a Honors Award, and you bet that is something listed on my website. All right, next is security indicators. Fear eliminators. So we have this old man being scared. Questions like, will they steal my credit card? Is my data safe? What if the product doesn't work? Can I get my money back? Are all common security fears that people will have. And the more that we can do to give them security and provide trust, the more likelihood that they're going to end up converting. Security trust signals are also fear eliminators. These are things like SSL certificates and badges, money back guarantees, privacy policy and data protection, refund policy, and your contact info. Scarcity and urgency act as a action trigger. And so people value things when they're more scarce or more limited. So effective signals of this would be limited spots, only 50 users accepted, time sensitive, early bird pricing ends Friday, or inventory, 3 spots left at this price. And finally, exclusivity, invite only beta program. And one thing to note is that you want to make sure that this urgency is 100% genuine. If you're lying to your customers, they're going to know, they're going to sniff it out, and they're going to leave. So make sure that you're providing factual stuff. All right, so the credibility cascade framework, pretty straightforward. We want one social proof element above the fold. Within your body, we want case studies with specific numbers. And within the footer, we want things like SSL badges or guarantees. It doesn't have to be these specific elements. It can be whatever's relevant for your business. The idea is to have it scattered throughout and to be using multiple different pieces of social proof and trust signals that help to convey your brand is trustworthy. So above the fold, first impressions. Above the fold is when you're on a website, it's the very first thing before you scroll down. I wanted to use Apple as a kind of first impression. When you first get an Apple device, they give you a very intuitive onboarding, and it gives you an amazing first impression and makes it feel, the experience feels super exciting. So think about that when you're designing above the fold of your website. Different options could be using customer logo bars, so different companies that you work with. The second option would be testimonial quote. This tool saved us 50K in the first month. And the third option could be a social counter. Join 25,000 others who have used this and love it. The rule here is to pick one. Too many trust signals above the fold can look desperate. Take this with a grain of salt. You don't want to overwhelm it, but as long as it looks good and helps to convey trust, have free reign. So as far as the body content, you want to have case studies. Here's a breakdown of a template that you can use to help showcase your brand and paint a clear picture of what it is, the benefits that you're actually providing, how you're helping to solve pain points, and the overall result. I'm not going to read through it, but you can pause the video here, write this down. This format is super effective at conveying all of the right information you need in a brief and concise testimonial. All right, so final footer objection removal, things like security stack, payment processors, sell certificate badges, security badges, guarantees, 30-day money back guarantee, or cancel anytime. And then obviously your contact information. They should be able to reach out to you. On the right, we have a good example. Try our healthy app for 14 days for free is the bottom call to action. So that's a guarantee. Then you also have your security. You're downloading it from App Store or Google Play. They also have their terms of service and privacy policy. Additionally, you can contact them. For your audit, you're going to go through and do the same thing that we've done before, but break it down even further. See each of these things. Do you have social proof? Do you have authority signals? Do you have security indicators? And do you have scarcity or urgency messaging within your website? So total score out of 40. So your trust signal action plan, if you scored between 0 and 10, hit the panic button. Add customer logos above the fold today. Write one case study this week. Add money back guarantee. Display contact info prominently. Score 11 to 20. You're building foundation. You're doing decent, but there's work to do. Collect 5 written testimonials, get 1 video testimonial, add team photos and bio, create an as seen in section. And yeah, if you scored between 21 and 30, you were in optimization mode. So you can A/B test different trust signal placements, upgrade testimonial to video, add industry certifications, and create detailed case studies. If your score is between 31 and 40, you're a trust leader. Focus on conversion optimization, test advanced scarcity elements, and build trust signal automation. Here's a quick email template for collecting powerful testimonials. You can reach out and ask your recent customers to answer this information, and then use the other slide to form their full testimonial. A follow-up is to always ask for a photo of them and permission to use their company name. And one tip for you is to ask for a Google review so it actually shows up on your platform. Send them a link straight to your Google review page and watch the money show up. Here's a few advanced hacking tactics. First, we have the name drop strategy. You could say something like, this system was used by whatever company to reach whatever result. You could also do founder credibility built by the team that previously created whatever company, and inverting objections. Turn your weaknesses into strengths. We're small enough to give you personal attention that big companies can't, and specific numbers. Use an exact figure rather than thousands of customers or whatever it is. So here's a few trust signal mistakes that kill credibility: fake social proof, stock photos, made up testimonials, and fake company logos. Visitors can sense BS and trust plummets. So avoid doing that. Mistake number 2 is using too many trust signals. So overwhelming visitor badges, counters, testimonials everywhere. It looks desperate and reduces actual credibility. Third mistake is irrelevant social proof. So a B2B company showing B2C testimonials or the wrong industry logos. The result is that visitors don't relate and your trust signals will backfire. Mistake number 4, not using specific metrics. So great product versus we increased our sales by 40% in 60 days. The testimonial feels generic and unconvincing when you're not using those specific metrics. Before you build, avoid these traps. The perfection trap. Don't wait until you have perfect testimonials. Just start with what you have and go from there. The quantity trap. 5 specific detailed testimonials is better than 50 generic great product reviews. The industry trap. B2B testimonials for B2B products, B2C for B2C. Never mix. Pretty straightforward. The placement trap. Strategic placement, random scattered trust signals like everywhere. You want to be thoughtful with it and make sure that you're putting the best and make sure you're providing the right trust signals at the right points to help convey trust, but not overdoing it. Remember to be authentic. Relevant trust signals placed strategically will always outperform fake ones. Okay, so your homework for today: before you leave, screenshot your current homepage, rate your trust signal inventory, be honest with yourself, email 3 customers today asking for a testimonial with the format that we've provided, and add 1 trust signal above the fold today. Remember that trust is the foundation of all sales. Without it, even perfect products don't convert. Your conversion rate is waiting for you to look trustworthy. So before you get some sleep, make these changes and you're for sure on your way to increasing your conversion rate. All right, so a few common questions. What if I don't have any customer reviews yet? You can use your founder credentials, beta user feedback, or personal guarantees. Should I buy fake testimonials to get started? Never. Authentic trust will always win. Never buy fake profile reviews. How many trust signals is too many? Test it. Usually 3 to 5 strategically placed signals works best. All right, that's the end of day 4. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've learned a bunch already. We're halfway through the conversion killer framework, and the next 2 are going to be super helpful. Then we move on to that advanced optimization. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace. Hey folks, welcome back to the 7-day conversion course. I'm your host, Riley Bunce with Studio 909. And on day 5, we're going to be doing call to action placement and strategy. So let's get straight into it. The harsh reality of call to actions is that 70% of websites have weak and generic call to action. Changing 1 word can increase conversions by up to 18%. Button color changes can improve results by 21%. Strategic placement can double click-through rates. Yeah, you heard that right. So why most call to actions fail? First of all, generic language. Learn more and submit. Second, no clear value proposition. You're not communicating what's in it for them. Third, poor placement, placing your buttons in the wrong area. Last but not least, ignoring mobile thumb zones. Your call to action is the bridge between interest and action, so make it count. Let's get into the psychology behind high converting call to actions real quick. Loss aversion beats gain seeking 2 to 1. Something weak would be along the lines of grow your business, whereas something strong would be stop losing customers to competitors. Specific beats generic every time. Something weak would get started versus something strong would be get your first 100 customers. Action words trigger dopamine release. Words like get, access, unlock, and start create anticipation and excitement. First person language creates ownership. Using words like my instead of your will make them feel more enticed to click. Here's the call to action stack formula. Basically, what we're looking at is having an action word, a specific outcome, a time frame, and a risk reversal. An example breakdown of this would be get your first 100 customers in 30 days risk-free. So the action word is get. It implies that the visitor is receiving value. The specific outcome would be first 100 customers, not vague like more sales. You're giving a specific time frame, 30 days. This creates urgency. And the risk reversal is risk free, removing their biggest barrier. It addresses their desire, urgency, and fear simultaneously. Obviously, this is a lot, so you don't need to include it all within your call to action, but having a combination of these is best. Action words that convert, high impact action words for value and benefits would be get, access, receive, and claim. For transformation, it would be start, begin, launch, create, and build. For learning, discover, learn, master, reveal. For exclusivity, join, enter, become, qualify. The psychology behind this is that action words make the brain visualize taking the step and receiving the reward. So some specific outcomes that drive clicks. Generic outcomes would be things like improve your business, get better results, learn more, or sign up. Versus specific outcomes, get your first 100 customers, cut support costs by 40%, add 10K in monthly revenue, start your 14-day trial. The rule of thumb here is that if you can't measure the outcome, it's too vague for a call to action. Optimal timeframes vary by industry. If you're a software company, you're looking at 7 to 30 days. For consulting, it's 24 hours to 7 days, whereas e-commerce is as fast as they can get it. Get instant access or ships in 2 days. The psychology behind this is that timeframes make promises feel more realistic and urgent. So moving on to risk reversal techniques, some commonly used risk reversals are money back guarantees, no commitment, free trials, and satisfaction guarantees. The psychology behind this is removing risk removes their biggest conversion barrier. So the biggest reason why they're feeling hesitant to go through with your offer, you're laying it out for them right when they're at the point of decision making. All right, so here's a bunch of high converting call to action phrases for free trials, lead magnets, consultations, purchases, and exclusivity and urgency. These 17 phrases have been proven to be some of the highest converting. So use them and optimize them for your specific offer. So getting into color psychology behind call to actions, different colors are going to appeal to different visitors' emotions. Be sure to consider this when you're designing your website. Orange creates urgency and encourages action. Best for e-commerce and impulse purchases. It can lift your conversions up to 32%. Green suggests safety, but also suggests go. It is seen a lot in financial services and healthcare websites. Red creates urgency and grabs attention. It's best for limited offers and sales. Blue builds trust and suggests reliability. This is best for B2B or professional services. The rule of thumb here is to test against your brand colors. Contrast is key. You want to make sure that it's fitting within your brand colors, but also stands out on your page and fits within the guidelines of your brand and industry. So strategic call to action placement. Humans typically read in an F pattern. So users are going to be scanning your page in an F shape, as you can see on the screen there. The first line on the top is the top horizontal line. This is your header area. Second would be the subheading area. And then the third is going to be the vertical line across the left side. The optimal call to action placement would be to make sure that it's above the fold so the user doesn't have to scroll. It should be after your headline where your value proposition is, once you've already established interest. And you're going to want to make it at the end of the content section, which is basically where your eyes will naturally go to when it's ready to make a decision. And we're going to go over this in a little bit more detail, but you want to make sure that it's in an easy to reach area on mobile devices. So the 3 call to action rule is maximum 3 call to actions per page to avoid decision paralysis. So you don't want to have too many buttons that offer too many different actions for the user to take. You want to have one key primary call to action and a couple secondary max. So the call to action sandwich technique is similar to the credibility cascade. You're structuring a section by placing persuasive call to action between 2 other components. So layer 1, value proposition. An example of this would be cut your customer support costs by 40% in 30 days. Layer 2 would be social proof. Join over 10,000 companies already saving money. Layer 3 would be your primary call to action. Get my free cost analysis. Layer 4 would be risk reversal, so no obligation, get results, or full refund. And layer 5, secondary call to action, have questions, schedule a 5-minute call. You see how we're using that call to action formula stack to ensure that all the key areas are covered, but we're not putting everything within the button. We're spreading it out throughout the information. The reason why this is each layer removes a different objection leading to the call to action. So mobile call to action optimization, as you can see on the right, when you're holding your phone with your thumb, the easiest to reach areas are the bottom section. The trickier sections are as you get away from the bottom and closer to the top. It's harder to reach your thumb up there. You want to have the easier to reach zones, which is the bottom third of the screen. That's where you want to be placing your call to action. The stretch zone is the middle of the screen, and this is where your secondary call to action could be. And the hard to reach actions is the top corners and opposite sides. And you want to avoid placing important call to actions here. Some best practices for mobile call to action optimization, it would be using minimum 44 pixel button height, high contrast colors, plenty of white space around buttons, and one primary call to action per screen. When it comes down to A/B testing your call to actions, here's some things to keep in mind. You're going to want to test copy elements, so action words. Then you can test how specific you want to get, generic versus specific outcomes, or different specific outcomes, different time frames like 7 days or 1 month, risk reversal language, and also design elements like button color, size, shape, and the placement on the page, and then context elements with or without social proof, with or without the risk reversal, and single versus multiple action. One key thing to keep in mind when testing is you only really want to be testing one element at a time. You're going to have your control and then your variation. Having 1,000 visitors per variation is going to be a good minimum number to test to ensure that you're getting accurate results. Now we're going to break down some common call to action mistakes that are going to kill your conversions. The first one would be weak action words. Words like submit, click here, or continue. You're not communicating the value of what they're going to get. Be as specific as possible to ensure that you're communicating that value. Second mistake would be multiple competing call to actions. If you have 5 different buttons that are all fighting for attention, it's hard for the user to decide what to do. If you have one primary call to action, it's going to make it a lot easier for the user to be guided towards something specific, and that's going to make it easier for them to convert. Third common mistake is not having risk reversals, asking for commitment without removing their fear. This creates high abandonment. Number 4 would be poor mobile placement. When you're putting your call to action in hard to reach area, this is going to cause a lot of issues for your visitors in terms of getting them to convert. Remember that up to 60% of your traffic is on mobile, so you want to be sure that you've optimized it for those folks as well as the desktop visitors. And mistake number 5 is using generic language. So learn more tells me nothing about what I'll learn versus low click rates. So industry specific call to action strategies, there's different optimal language that you should be using for different industries. So software as a sales, a trial focused one might be start my 14-day trial, whereas e-commerce, a purchase might be add to cart and save. B2B services, consultation, get my free analysis. And for coaching and transformation, start my transformation. Depending on your industry, be sure to use the right language to entice your audience with the right offer. So some advanced call to action psychology tactics would be using the curiosity gap. So get the secret strategy 97% of marketers miss. The social mirror would be something like join 50,000 other entrepreneurs who have transformed their business. Time constraint would be something like get early bird access, only 48 hours left. Authority assumption, start your expert level training. Outcome ownership, build my 10K a month business. And the psychology behind this is that we're tapping a little bit deeper into psychological triggers beyond basic action words. So now that we've explained all of that, we're going to perform an audit on our website. First step, we're going to list every call to action on our site and rate each from 1 to 10 based on clarity, value, urgency, and risk. Step 2 is looking at placement analysis. Check each call to action for above the fold visibility, mobile thumb zone placement. So make sure that you get on your phone for that. Logical flow position, competing call to actions nearby. And step 3 would be a performance review, click-through rates by call to action, conversion rates by call to action, mobile versus desktop performance, and traffic source performance differences. So based on these results, your call to action optimization roadmap is going to look like the following. Step 1, perform your audit, complete call to action inventory, identify your 3 to 5 weakest call to actions, set up tracking for current performance. And step 2, copy optimization. Rewrite your call to actions using the stack formula, add risk reversal language, implement first person copy. And then step 3 would be design and placement, test button colors and sizes, optimize mobile placements, remove competing call to actions. And then step 4 is advanced testing. A/B test your top variations, implement the call to action sandwich technique, and measure and iterate. Some common questions regarding call to actions would be how many call to actions should I have per page? Maximum 3, 1 primary, and max of 2 secondary. The more buttons that you have, the harder it is for your visitor to decide what to do. Should I use the same call to action throughout my site? No, match the call to action to page context and visitor intent. What if my call to action doesn't fit the stack? Use what fits. The formula is a guide, not a rigid rule. All right, so how long should I run A/B tests? Until statistical significance or minimum 1,000 visitors per variation. You should call to action copy match my brand voice. Yes, but prioritize clarity and conversion over brand consistency. Before you leave, screenshot your current call to actions, rate your top 5, most important, rewrite your call to action using the stack formula, test it live this week. And then your challenge is to optimize 3 to 5 call to actions using today's framework and measure the results in 30 days. Remember, your call to action is the moment of truth when interest becomes action. Make every word count. Thanks so much for tuning in to day 5. We are almost at the end. We have one more day of the framework conversion course. We're going to be focusing on mobile optimization and then looking into advanced user conversion flow techniques. Be sure to check those out. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Hey folks, and welcome back to day 6 of the conversion course. I'm your host, Riley Bunce with Studio 909. For day 6, we're going to be focusing on mobile first revenue recovery. Breaking down the mobile revenue crisis, 73% of startup traffic is mobile, and mobile traffic converts 50% worse on average than desktop. 60% of mobile users abandon sites that take longer than 3 seconds to load, and 40% of mobile users can't click buttons because they're too tiny. If you have 10,000 visitors and 7,300 of them are on mobile, converting at 1.5%, you're getting 110 sales, and the other visitors are on desktop at a 3.5% conversion rate, you're getting 95 sales. Mobile should be driving 4 times more sales. Founders lose millions by ignoring mobile use. The first mobile conversion killer is slow load speeds. A 1-second delay causes conversions to drop by 7%. 3-second load time will result in 53% of users bouncing. Reasons why your website might be slow on mobile would be unoptimized images, which is typically the biggest culprit, too many plugins or scripts, mobile caching, heavy font usage and animation, as well as uncompressed code. So the 3-second rule here is that if your site takes more than 3 seconds to load, you're hemorrhaging money every single minute. So the 3-second load speed hack, a few quick wins that you can implement today. So image optimization, compress all your images, make sure they're in WebP or AVIF format when possible. Lazy load images below the fold so that they're loading as the user scrolls. Remove unnecessary images, clean up your code. So minify your CSS and JavaScript, remove your unused plugins, combine CSS and JavaScript files, use browser caching. And mobile-specific optimizations, reduce server response time, use a CDN, optimize for mobile first loading, remove non-essential third-party scripts, and a great tool that you can use is Google's Page Speeds Insights, which shows you exactly what to fix. So here's a look at Google Page Speed Insights that I use for my website. Obviously, you can always work to improving your website, but this tool is extremely helpful for finding and diagnosing your problems. You can fix exactly what you need to in a simplistic manner. So check that out. So the second mobile conversion killer would be tiny buttons. 40% of mobile users can't click buttons smaller than 44 pixels. 60% of clicks happen in the bottom third of the screen, and one-handed usage is now 75% of mobile browsing. Make sure that you have your buttons on mobile to be at least 44 by 44 pixels, which is the guidelines given by Apple and Google. Optimal is 48 by 48 for primary buttons. Spacing, minimum 8 pixels between clickable elements. Target areas, include padding in clickable area. This basically means that you want to include the space around your button to ensure that the user is going to get the action regardless of whether they click on it or right beside it. So the phone test is just using your phone and testing it out. We're going to get into it a little bit further, but If you can't easily click your call to action, fix it. So as we discussed in the previous video, the mobile thumb heat map shows where it's easiest to tap and where users tap the most. So the bottom third of the screen, stretch zone is the middle, and then the hard to reach zone is the red. So make sure your most essential buttons are in the green zone and secondary buttons can be placed outside. Mobile conversion killer number 3, novel length forms. So on mobile, 68% of users abandon forms with more than 3 fields. Typing on mobile is 58% slower than on desktop, and autocorrect errors cause 23% of form abandonment. So in order to optimize your mobile forms, reduce fields, only put what's essential, pre-fill as much information as you can, and optional fields should be truly all. So smart input types, use numeric keyboards for numbers, keyboards for email addresses, date pickers instead of typing, and drop-down menus for selection. Allow the user to autofill as much information as possible. This will make sure that it's easy for them to do it as quick as possible and optimize that conversion. Mobile conversion killer number 4, impossible pop-ups. So 60% of mobile pop-ups can't be closed, and close buttons are often too small or poorly placed. Pop-ups often cover essential content, and Google penalizes intrusive pop-ups. So your best practices is making sure that the size and placement for buttons is minimum 44 pixels. Place close buttons in easy to reach thumb areas. Don't cover essential content, and leave lots of space around the close. So for timing and triggers, delay the appearance 5 to 10 seconds minimum. Use exit intent on mobile. Scroll-based triggers work better than time, and don't show the pop-up to the visitor every time they land on your page. Alternative approaches to pop-ups would be top banner notifications, slide in from bottom, inline content offers, and page call to action. So the mobile first framework is a newer way of designing where you focus on the mobile experience first and then build out to the desktop. Traditionally, the desktop has been prioritized first and then the mobile phone last. So some principles behind mobile first framework. So for content hierarchy, most important stuff should go first and make sure it's the biggest. Touch first interactions, everything designed for fingers, speed over aesthetics, fast floating beats, pretty design, thumb driven navigation, essential actions in thumb zones, and minimal cognitive load. Don't make them think. As far as mobile navigation that converts, some best practices are for primary navigation, use a hamburger menu for secondary items, bottom navigation for main items, maximum 5 items in the bottom bar, clear recognizable icons. For call to action placement, your primary call to action should be in easy to reach thumb zones. Consider using a sticky call to action for longer pages. Use multiple call to actions throughout your website, and ensure that you have clear visual hierarchy that's easy for the visitor to understand. As far as having search functionality within your site, you're going to want to consider having a prominent search icon, including autocomplete suggestions, adding a voice search option, and recently saved searches. And then going back to the one thumb test, can you your main conversion goal using only one thumb. All right, so for mobile content strategy, for headline hierarchy, H1 should be 30 to 40 characters max. Ensure that you're communicating your value prop clearly between your H1 and H2. H3 should have supporting benefits, and it should be short and scannable paragraphs. For visual content, you're going to want to focus on hero images optimized for vertical screens, videos autoplay is muted, image carousels with clear navigation, infographics designed mobile first. For text optimization, you're going to want to make your sentences between 15 and 20 words maximum, use paragraphs that have 2 to 3 sentences, and use bullet points over long paragraphs. Make it super easy for your user to understand the information, and use lots of white space for visual breathing room. So a few different mobile testing tools are worth mentioning. Google PageSpeed's Insights, which we already talked about, Google Mobile Friendly Test. You can use this website to test out how well your mobile experience functions. Chrome DevTools allows you to see different screen sizes, so you can emulate having a phone on your screen instead of actually having to pull it out every time. And then last but not least, browser testing. Test on actual devices when possible. Test out different iOSs such as Safari and Android. Test different screen sizes and orientations, and consider testing out different web browsers. All right, the mobile phone button test is a really good way to see how easy it is to navigate and get the information you need as a first-time visitor considering your offer. So why use your phone? It represents real user behavior, tests your actual thumb reach limitation, validates button sizing across devices, and ensures accessibility for the average user. The test process is pretty simple. You're just going to hold your phone naturally in your dominant hand, navigate to your key pages, try to complete the main actions using only your thumb. Note any buttons or links that you can't reach comfortably. Measure actual button sizes. It should be 44 pixels for iOS, and consider different devices. Test on smaller and larger devices when possible. Consider one-handed versus two-handed usage, and account for different grip styles and hand sizes. Some common failures to look out for include call to action buttons in top corners, navigation items that are too small, submit buttons that are poorly placed, close buttons on pop-ups that are unreachable, and important actions requiring two-handed operation. All right, so your mobile conversion optimization checklist looks like the following. For speed optimization, make sure your site loads in under 3 seconds, use compressed images, remove unnecessary scripts, enable mobile caching. For touch-friendly design, make sure you have buttons that are big enough, use 8 pixels spacing minimum between targets. Your primary call to action should be easy to reach thumb zones, and you want to ensure that your visitor isn't clicking anything accidentally. For form optimization, you're going to want to have maximum 3 fields for your initial form. Make sure the appropriate input type is being used. Allow autofill when possible, and clear error messaging for when the user makes some type of mistake so that they can know to fix it and submit it properly. For navigational excellence, ensure that you have one thumb navigation possible, clear visual hierarchy, essential actions easily accessible, and no horizontal scrolling required. All right, so some common mobile conversion fixes would be adding a sticky call to action button on longer pages. As you scroll down, your call to action button is going to stick with you. This can help improve conversions on mobile by 15 to 30%. Quick win number 2 is simplified forms. Reduce any long forms to 2 to 3 essential fields. This can help with form optimization by 40 to 60%. For quick win number 3, we have thumb zone call to actions. So move primary buttons into easy to reach areas, and this can help to increase conversions by 20 to 35%. Quick win number 4, speed optimization. If your website takes more than 3 seconds to load on mobile, make sure that you're cleaning it up so that it runs faster and getting as many people through to your website as possible. Looking into mobile specific psychology, when you're on your phone, you're a lot more impatient, you're easily distracted, you're task focused, you're going from A to B, trying to do something. And a lot of the time, you're going to prioritize convenience over anything else. So mobile UX psychology, thumb bias. The thumb bias is users naturally scroll with their thumb. You want to make sure that actions are tappable with your thumb. Avoid actions that require stretching. The average user is checking their phone 150 times per day. Sessions are short but more frequent. As a result, we want to design for quick, focused interactions. For visual scanning, make sure to use the F pattern on mobile. Attention decreases rapidly as they scroll down the page, so make sure to put the most important info at the top, and use visual hierarchy to guide attention. Some different analytics and measurements for mobile conversions. Performance metrics are things like page load speed, bounce rate, mobile versus desktop conversion rates, core web vital scores. For user experience metrics, we have mobile task completion rate, form abandonment rate, click-through rates on mobile user session duration. For revenue impacts, you can look at mobile revenue per visitor, mobile customer lifetime value, cost per mobile acquisition, and mobile conversion funnel analysis. All right, so mobile first content strategy, your content hierarchy for mobile. Above the fold, you should have a clear value proposition, primary benefit statement, strong call to action, and trust signals. Your second screen should have key product or service features, social proof element, secondary call to action, and navigation to more detail. Below the fold, you can have detailed information, additional testimonials, FAQ section, contact info. For content formatting, headlines should be 30 characters or less. Paragraphs should be max 3 lines. Use bullet points over long text blocks, and use lots of white space for readability. All right, so your mobile recovery action plan. Step 1 is emergency fixes. Run Google PageSpeed's insights. Test your site on actual mobile devices. Fix any obvious button size issues. Compress your largest images. Step 2 is speed optimization. So this would be implementing page speed recommendations, removing unnecessary plugins or scripts. setting up mobile caching, and testing your load speeds. For step 3, this is going to be improvements. So optimize your forms for mobile, move call to actions to thumb-friendly zones, fix any pop-up issues, and test navigation flow. For step 4, we're going to be testing and refining. This is A/B testing key changes, measuring conversion improvements, getting user feedback, and planning ongoing optimizations. Before you leave, open your website on your phone, time how long it takes to load, try to complete your main conversion goal using only one thumb, and note every friction point that's difficult, slow, or confusing. This week, you're going to complete your 7-day mobile recovery action plan. And remember, 73% of your traffic is mobile. Every day you delay mobile optimization, money is lost forever. The mobile first mindset. Design for the thumb, optimize for speed, eliminate friction. Your mobile users are waiting. Don't make them wait any longer. All right, congratulations. You finished day 6, and that wraps up the top 4 areas for converting more users. Tomorrow's episode is our final episode, and we're going to focus on something a little more advanced, so I'm super excited for it. Shout out to you if you've made it this far. That's about it. Peace. Hey folks, welcome back to the 7-Day Conversion Challenge. I'm your host, Riley Bunce with Studio 909. And today for the final day of the course, we're going to be looking at funnel flow optimization. So what exactly is the problem here? 96% of visitors aren't ready to buy immediately. And as a result, most websites only cater to the 4% who actually are ready to buy. So what does this mean for you? You're losing 96% of your potential revenue. Competitors who nurture these visitors will steal them. You're leaving millions on the table by focusing only on ready buyers. The solution to this problem is to build a revenue bridge that guides all visitors towards purchase, regardless of where they start. So a little bit more on this revenue bridge concept. The traditional approach is to have a homepage, a product page, and the checkout. This only works for the 4% of ready buyers. A different approach is the revenue bridge approach. For each visitor type, you have appropriate content, a nurturing sequence, which will ultimately result in greater conversions. So we break down visitors into 4 different types. The first type is the research type. Their mindset is, I have a problem, I need a solution. Their needs are education, problem identification, and solution awareness. Their behavior is doing things like reading blog posts, downloading guides, and watching videos. The next phase is the comparison phase, and this is around 35% of traffic. Their mindset is, I know a solution exists, which is best. Their needs are feature comparisons, proof points, differentiation, and their behavior is reading reviews, comparing options, and checking testimonials. The third phase is the decision phase, and this is around 21% of traffic. So the mindset for these buyers is, I want this, but need a reason to act right now. Their needs are urgency, scarcity, risk removal, and the final push. Their behavior is revisiting sites, reading guarantees, and looking for deals. And then we have the final 4%, which are those who are in the ready to buy phase. Their mindset is, I'm convinced, make it easy to purchase. Their needs are frictionless purchase, clear process, and trust signals. Their behavior would be adding your product to their cart, entering their payment info, and completing the purchase. So breaking these down a little bit further, looking at the research phase strategy, this group needs educational content that's going to build awareness and trust. Some of the components of their specific revenue bridge would be lead magnets like ultimate guides and checklists, free tools and calculators, educational video series, problem solving templates. And then for content strategy, we're looking at blog posts addressing pain points, how-to educational content, industry trend reports, and problem identification quizzes. And then as far as capture mechanisms, we have email opt-in for valuable resources like those lead magnets, newsletter subscription, free course enrollment, and tool registration. The goal is to convert anonymous visitors into known leads. Moving on to the comparison phase, they need clear differentiation and proof that you are the go-to choice. So some of the components here would be comparison content, have feature comparison charts, why choose us page, competitor analysis, and pricing comparison tables. Include social proof like customer testimonials, case studies, industry awards, and customer success stories. And then including differentiation tools like unique value proposition highlights, exploring your benefits, proprietary methodologies, and special guarantees or policies. Your goal is to position yourself as the obvious best choice in the market. Moving on to the decision phase, what they need is final motivation to act now instead of later. So their revenue bridge components would include urgency elements like limited time offers, seasonal promotions, flash deals, and deadline driven bonuses. For scarcity indicators, these would be things like limited inventory warnings, exclusive access offers, only X amount of spots left messages, and first come, first served bonuses. You'll also want to include risk removal, so money back guarantees, free trials or demos, no questions asked policies, and then social proof from recent buyers. The goal is to convert their interest into immediate action. For the final phase, the ready to buy mindset, what these visitors need is a frictionless and trustworthy checkout experience. For checkout optimization, looking at things like minimal form fields, multiple payment options, guest checkout available, progress indicators. For trust signals, have security badges and certificates, customer service contact info, a clear refund or return policy, recent purchase notification, and then for friction removal, autofill capabilities, error prevention, and clear messaging, making sure that your website is optimized for all devices and that your checkout pages load super fast. The goal here is to convert the decision into completed purchase. So for the revenue bridge flow, it's going to be unique depending on which phase the visitor is at. For researchers, it might look something like a blog to a lead magnet, then an email sequence, and then a product introduction. For comparers, it might be product page, comparison chart, case study, and then demo/trial. For deciders, their flow might be page to limited offer to urgency messaging straight to checkout. For buyers, it might be direct to checkout, trust signals, and completed purchase. The bridge would be using email sequences to connect each phase, gradually moving visitors towards purchase readiness. And it doesn't just have to be emails. This can also take the form of other types of content. Tips for lead magnets. Ultimate guides have a 25 to 35% opt-in rate. The complete guide to problem solution, make sure you're solving their biggest problem. So 20 to 50 pages of comprehensive information, actionable steps and frameworks. Next would be checklists and audits. These have 30 to 40% opt-in rates and could look like the 47-point process checklist or ready to use templates or step-by-step implementation guide. Lastly, we have free tools and calculators, which has a 35 to 45% opt-in rate. These are things like ROI calculators, assessment tools, planning worksheets, and automated analysis tools. And again, the key here is the lead magnet should solve an immediate problem related to your paid solution. So you're definitely going to want to be sure that it's relevant to the problem that you're solving and making sure that there's a clear value for the user. Here's an example of my current lead magnet on my website. It's a breakdown of this video series in text format. You can find that in the course assets. Moving on, we're looking at comparison charts that convert shoppers. So some effective comparison strategies would be using a feature matrix layout, your solution in the middle or on either side, and your competitors on the sides. You're comparing key features between your two products, and you want to make sure that you're looking at features that you have that your competitor doesn't. So visual check marks and X marks help the user understand what's included and what isn't. We have a good example over here on the right. The next strategy is positioning tactics. Lead with your strongest differentiators. Then include features only you have, show your price or value advantage very clearly, and customer satisfaction scores. For trust elements, add things like a last updated date for accuracy. You could link to your competitor's site so they can go check them out directly. This can help to build trust, but you want to be careful. Use a neutral tone with factual data. Don't lie. As long as you have a strong offer, it should be clear why they should go with you instead of your competitor. And lastly, third-party verification when possible. The goal here is to make your offer appear objectively superior. For ready buyers, you want to ensure that you have frictionless checkout. These are things like optimizing your form simplification so that it includes required fields, autofill as many details as possible, use saved payment methods, and single page checkout when possible. For trust maximization, you're going to be looking at using SSL certificates, major credit card logos, customer service phone numbers, and secure checkout messaging. Next, you make sure that you have your process, very clear step indicators, letting the user know where they are in the process, making sure the order summary is always visible, ensure you have edit options at each step, and include confirmation of what will happen next. For mobile optimization, make sure you have large thumb-friendly buttons. Use mobile payment options like Apple Pay and Google Pay, and simplified mobile layout. Now we're going to look at some different email sequence strategies by visitor type. An optimized email sequence for the research phase would be about 7 emails over 14 days. First would be a welcome plus deliver the lead magnet. The second would be problem deep dive, looking at why it matters. The third would be problem education, how your solution works. The fourth would be a case study looking at a real world example. The fifth would be common steps, what not to do. The sixth would be a getting started guide. The seventh and final would be a soft product introduction, how we help. Whereas if we were looking at folks in the comparison phase, we might start with a welcome/key differentiators email, followed by a feature breakdown, what makes us different, a customer success story, a bit of behind the scenes, and then finished with a special offer. For folks in the decision-making phase, we might do limited time offer, then send them a social proof blast, and then send them a final call of that offer. So moving on to exit intent capture system, this is looking at different exit intent triggers by visitor type. So when researchers are leaving, we could say something like, wait, get our ultimate guide before you go. You could have free resources offer. You could have a free resource offer with an email capture or a newsletter sign up with content. For comparers leaving, we might say something like, see how we compare to competitor, and offer a free trial or demo or a comparison chart download. And then for deciders leaving, we might say something like, don't miss out, 20% off expires tomorrow, offer them a limited time discount, or join 10,000 happy customers. And then when buyers are abandoning, we can say, complete your order and save 10%, a free shipping offer, or items in your cart are in high demand. Now we're going to move on to creating your own revenue bridge map. The first step is going to be doing a traffic analysis, identifying your current traffic sources, analyzing visitor behavior patterns. You want to segment by intent as segment by visitor intent or behavior, then map your current conversion paths for each of those different intent types, such as researcher or decision maker. Step 2 is to perform a content audit, list existing content by visitor type, identify gaps in coverage, assess content quality and relevance, and content creation. Step 3 would be conversion point mapping. You're going to mark all of your current conversion opportunities, identify missed conversion chances, plan new capture mechanisms, and design nurturing sequences like emails and exit intent. For step 4, we're going to be looking at flow optimizations, connecting your content to appropriate visitor types, creating logical progression paths, removing friction points, and adding missing bridge elements. So for automating your funnel components, look at a lead scoring system that's tracking email opens and clicks. You're going to monitor website behavior and score based on engagement level. Additionally, look at trigger sequences based on your score. For behavioral triggers, we're going to be looking at page visit tracking, time on site measurements, download and form completions, and shopping cart behaviors. For dynamic content, we're going to be looking at personalized email content, website content based on visitor type, product recommendations, and customized offers. And then re-engagement campaigns are things like winning back inactive subscribers, cart abandonment sequences, browser abandonment emails, and second chance offers. So some key performance indicators that you're going to want to look at the top of the funnel. You're going to look at conversion rates by traffic source for your lead magnet, email opt-in rates by page, content engagement metrics, social sharing and referrals. And then your middle of funnel is going to look like email open and click rates by sequence, content consumption and progression, lead scoring and advancement, and then nurture sequence completion rates. For your bottom of funnel, you're going to be looking at sales conversion rates by visitor type, average time from lead to customer, customer lifetime value by acquisition source, and then revenue per visitor improvement. Your overall bridge performance is going to be total funnel conversion rate, revenue per visitor increase, customer acquisition cost reduction, and then lifetime value to acquisition cost ratio. Looking at some common revenue bridge mistakes, the first would be a one-size-fits-all approach where you're treating all of the visitors the same instead of segmenting by intent. Second would be pushing sales too early before the visitor actually understands what it is that you do and why they should care. Mistake number 3 is weak middle of funnel content. So perhaps you have a great lead magnet, but poor nurturing sequence. Mistake number 4 would be ignoring mobile experience. So desktop optimized funnels that break on mobile. Mistake number 5 would be set and forget mentality, not testing and optimizing funnel performance. And then mistake number 6, missing exit intent capture system, letting visitors leave without a second chance. All right, so one thing to consider is, depending on your industry, you're going to have a unique revenue bridge. Looking at a SaaS company, for researchers, their sequence might be free tools to educational email series to product demo, whereas comparers might be feature comparison to case studies to free trial, whereas deciders, and you get the idea. But e-commerce, instead of their researchers, might have their first intro would be style guides to fashion tip emails to product showcases. You would never want to send fashion tip emails to a potential SaaS client. So the idea here is to consider what industry you're in and nurture based on that. So a couple of advanced revenue bridge tactics, things like dynamic content personalization. So showing a different homepage based on the traffic source, customizing your product recommendations by behavior, personalizing your email content by engagement level, adapting your checkout flow by device. And then for multi-channel integration, these can be things like retargeting visitors on social media, using SMS for urgent decision phase messaging. You can look at integrating social proof with multiple platforms and then cross-pollinating email and social audiences. For predictive analytics, look at identifying high value visitor patterns, predicting churn before it happens, optimizing send times by user behavior, and automated personalized offers based on data. For advanced segmentation, you can segment by company size. You can look at geographics, customization, industry specific messaging, and seasonal behavior patterns. All right, so building your revenue bridge week by week. Week 1 is going to be completing the visitor journey mapping, audit existing content and conversion points, setting up a basic email sequence, and implementing exit intent capture. Week 2 is looking at content creation, creating lead magnets for researchers, building comparison charts for shoppers, design urgency elements for deciders, and optimizing your checkout for buyers. Week 3 is automation setup, so configuring your email sequences by visitor type, setting up behavioral triggers, implementing lead scoring systems, and creating re-engagement campaigns. And then for week 4, this is going to be looking at testing and optimization. So A/B test key funnel elements, analyze conversion rates by visitor type, optimize weak points in the bridge, plan ongoing improvement strategy. All right. Here is your revenue bridge implementation plan for immediate actions that you can take today. Map your current visitor journey, identify your visitor type percentages, audit existing conversion opportunities, and set up a basic exit intent capture. This week, create one lead magnet for researchers, build a basic email sequence with 5 emails, add comparison elements for shoppers, and optimize your main checkout process. Over the next 30 days, look at implementing full email sequences by visitor type, create urgency element for deciders, set up behavioral tracking and triggers, test and optimize your conversion rate. Your goal here is to double your conversion rate within the next 60 days. Go get them. All right. So your homework, the least that you can do is build a complete visitor journey map and implement one component for each visitor type within 7 days. Remember that 96% of your visitors aren't ready to buy today, but with the right revenue bridge, they will be by tomorrow, next week, or next month. Build the bridge and guide them across. Stop losing 96% of your potential revenue. Start building your revenue bridge today. Thank you so much. This concludes day 7. We've officially completed the course. Congratulations. I hope this has been helpful for you in learning how to convert more visitors into paying customers. Again, my name is Riley Bunce. I'm the founder of Studio 909. We help founders to convert more through strategic web design. If you're interested in learning more about my company or my work, feel free to check us out at studio909.io. Thank you again so much for taking the time to watch all these videos. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.